Salutations, people who watch things on the internet. Hey, welcome back. Tonight, I just finished watching the new Doctor Who episode, Season 6, Episode 2, entitled Day of the Moon. So if you haven't done so already, please go subscribe, and we're going to keep doing these Doctor Who stuff, so you don't want to miss out. This one, spoilers. Spoiler alert, big time. I don't think we can really talk about the episode without at least getting into some of the major spoilers of the episode. I'm intrigued. I'm very, very intrigued where this is all going. I still have some doubts because I feel very much like I said before, it's catering to an American audience in the sense that like it's cliffhanger ending after cliffhanger ending. This was a very much, not so much cliffhanger ending, but a very much lost ending where it just, here, the final scene, we're going to show you something that, opens up 8,000 more questions. So in that way, the show has made like this shift to very much X-Files, BSG, Lost style of storytelling. The two-part opener, it still doesn't feel like a complete episode by itself. Not much was wrapped up by the end of episode 2 of season 6. Previously in Doctor Who, everything just gets wrapped up. Like, yes, there are these through storylines, but you never feel like, oh gosh, I need to know more about this, or like, here's a giant question that we're not going to quite tell you the answer to. It's always just been like, oh, you piece all these things together, and you get this really complete, rich storyline that pulls through, but it's not like, hey, I'm going to dangle this thing in front of you, and you can go check it out if you want, or like, here, something that's going to wait. I really feel like we're going to have to wait until the end of this season to find out why the Doctor gets killed in episode 1. And, in the past, we would have found out. There would have been a good reason. But never before have we really dangled something like this. And they didn't even bring it up in this episode at all to even reference why Future Doctor has sent everyone these blue notes to end up in 1969 and why apparently 1969 is so important. A number of things I want to talk about. Obviously, I said spoilers, so if you're still watching and you care, spoiler alert. The whole baby child thing in the astronaut and the fact that she regens, that's really, really, really interesting. The fact that Amy is pregnant and not pregnant at the same time, very, very interesting. The fact that the silence, as they're now called, are these things that have apparently been around for a very, very, very long time and no one's figured out, is very interesting. And the fact that Future Doctor set them up to figure out to broadcast it to the world at the Apollo moon landing, which I think would have been a very better storyline off of the Transformers 3 trailer that came out a while ago, and it was like the Dark Side of the Moon trailer, where I thought I was like, hey, there's a cool movie coming out, and they're like, oh, it's Transformers. But this would have been a great storyline for that. Anyway, that was such a tangent. Back to Doctor Who. The River Song thing. If you have Netflix, go back and watch the David Tennant episode, the library episode. It's on Instant. You can go back and watch it because that is the last time we know this, that River Song dies at the end of that episode. So figuring out this whole her timeline versus his timeline thing is my brain is so confused, and especially with the whole kiss thing in this episode, it really throws into question like where in their timelines and how those are meeting up. But it was very interesting to go back and watch parts of the library and see how they interacted, because that was the first time he had met her, but it was the last time that she would have met him, obviously, because she dies. And some of how that correlates, because the whole river thing starts in that episode. It really comes, and that was in Tenet, so that's a season and a half ago that happened. So there's a lot of stuff that's happened, and obviously they were at least thinking about how this whole River Song thing was going to play out, and so it'll be interesting to see over the rest of this season how it plays out. So let's talk about the little girl in the spacesuit. Really, there's kind of two ways of thinking about it. They're examining the suit, and it starts to River says it's fixing itself. And you mash that up with the fact that the little girl at the end, who's presumably Amy's daughter, regenerates. So either she has rubbed off on the suit, or I think there's a possibility, slightly more outside, that the suit has somehow been on the TARDIS before and it has absorbed the heart of the TARDIS and kind of repairs itself. So, and then there's also a theory that it's the job's suit to just kind of keep that little girl trapped inside, and she's gotten out. The whole Amy being pregnant but not being pregnant thing, I think I was thinking about this, and I think the whole Amy storyline is so much grander than any of the other companions has ever been before. I think it goes back to the very beginning of her season in season 5 when she shows up. That the whole crack in the wall, the whole explosion and resetting of time has done a lot of really, really weird things that we may not know about for years, depending on how long they keep this Amy storyline going through. 2 theories here. One, that there's a quite possibility that because of the time explosion that reset all of time, we are now in to make a great Back to the Future reference, of an alternate 1985, in the sense that we're in a different timeline, and or 2 timelines are happening simultaneously at the same time. And this throws into the whole crazy mess of time theory and time travel and what's actually happening. My other thought is there could be this through storyline that everything, like, we end up somehow at the beginning of Matt Smith's, when he shows up in 2000 whatever, I can't remember now, or 1996, at the beginning of Amy's timeline, that like somehow everything resets before that, because Amy and the crack in the wall has thrown everything out of skew, and to make it right we have to go back and pretty much abolish Amy. Like, Amy is this giant anomaly in space and time. So it'll be really interesting to see what they do, and they've obviously been thinking very hard about how this Amy storyline, even more so than Rose's. Rose's had a through storyline, but Amy's is kind of getting out of control in a lot of different ways. So I'm interested to see what Moffat's going to do here, because it feels like his idea of storytelling, and like I said this before, it caters to this American audience. Never before have we had these carrots dangling, and Lost was all about dangling carrots, and that was clearly written for an American audience. And so I don't know how I feel about the fact that things don't feel cohesive, and the next time on for next week's episode 3 seems like it's going to be more of a self-contained story, back the way it feels like, but I feel like they're really going to shove some carrots in there about who Amy is and why she's around and why the Doctor has gravitated towards her in the first place. So, yeah, and there, or there's a possibility that Amy is pregnant with the Doctor's baby, or that is the Doctor's baby as opposed to Rory's baby, or the fact that because she's on the TARDIS while she is pregnant, kind of like Lost in the Island in Pregnancies, if you're familiar with Lost, that they're kind of playing with this whole something has happened, and the fact that the little girl realizes that she's dying, but it's okay, and so that almost alludes to the fact that that's happened before. So maybe when Amy shoots, and we lost 3 months here in this episode. There's 3 months that are unaccounted for between the end when Amy shoots the little girl in the suit to when they run away and start traveling around the U.S. So I think I'm sure we're gonna revisit what happened within those 3 months, because there's a chance that little girl regenerated then, and that's why she's there. It still doesn't quite explain the little girl or the astronaut at the beginning of episode 1 and killing the Doctor. Clearly the person understands that you have to stop the Doctor in between the regeneration cycles. I have the wildest idea that the Doctor kills himself there somehow, for whatever reason. That some incarnation of the current Doctor kills future Doctor to stop things from happening. I don't know, it's getting so complicated. Hopefully someone's doing better than throwing darts at a wall of pictures and deciding who's Cylons. Sorry, BSG, that was dumb. You should have never told us that. So it'll be really interesting. I want to know what you guys think. Please, you guys left some great comments last week, and I loved reading them, and I love... sorry about the whole Rory thing. Apparently some people really like Rory. Still, I think he's whatever. He looked great in the 1969 getup. I was like, he should be cast on Mad Men. That was perfect in terms of like the stylistic looking, and he had that one great Rory moment in this episode, and I enjoyed it a lot. So please, if you haven't subscribed, I'll put the last week's Doctor Who, let's see, it goes down there, and then the last Do or Do Not, where I reviewed Fast 5. Check that one out. That one's awesome, down in the other corner. So, hope you guys are doing well. We'll be back next Sunday for another edition of Doctor Who reviews. And yes, I think there'll be a lot of spoilers this time. So, until next time, adios. Where's the button?